The December night was extra cold, the wind slicing through my cheeks into my bones. Every cold breath my lungs sucked in was a piercing throb. Even so, I kept on running. I wanted to live. I've never been heroic, but have never considered myself a coward. Today I have uncovered survival instincts I was not aware I had. I suppose they do not come out until needed. I was starting to feel the weight of my body on my heels. As every time they heavily hit the ground, the loud sound of crushing leaves echoed in my ears, but not as loud as the feet of the two monsters giving chase behind me. I wanted to run lighter, not make a sound. I kept running, unable to loose them. If I slowed, they would catch me, and I would have a bullet on my head like my best friend, I thought with regret. Thinking of her suffocated me. She was my sister. The precious person who came into my life since I was 5, and now they have taken her from me. So the only thing I could do was keep on running, even when it seemed pointless. I was sure I was going in circles in this darkness. Every tree past me looked the same. Nevertheless, I kept moving forward, and just when I felt my heart was going to give out from this endless life race, I could hear the sound of running water. It was faint at first, but with every stride I took it kept getting louder, and for just a second, just 1 second, I felt a little warmer, because I felt hope. The road is up a small hill on the other side of the river. I was sure I could keep outrunning them until I got to it. Highway 9 was a busy road. There was definitely going to be people driving by. Surely someone would help me. But just as that hope crossed my heart, it chattered when I realized I had to actually cross the river. I did not know how to swim. I could easily drown in 2 feet of water. Water was my worst nightmare, my sworn enemy, the middle finger nature put in my life. The single tear drop that rolled over my cheek left a frozen trail to my now frozen heart. I would never again get to see my family. I would die tonight one way or another. This was the end of my journey in this world. These 2 psychotic demons were going to kill me as well. It enraged me that they were going to get away with it. Even if they found our bodies, no one knew we were with them. They were going to be free to do the same to other girls. I could certainly imagine other girls had already ran the same woods I have. The water hit my shoes, and the freezing temperature pulled me into my surrounding, and to a complete stop. I picked up a sharp rock at the edge of the river, sticking out, and out of place. I knew I couldn't protect myself with it. But I was already trying to carve into my arm the last message I wanted to leave in this world: Mike Sanders killed us. But I wasn't even finished with the first letter when I heard them so near. They started growling and barking like dogs, in between laughter, all in mockery. A sinister voice ringed, "We have to take our time with this one, Mikey." That was the last sound my ears took in before the water engulfed my entire body. I had jumped in. In my mind, the image of Mike's humanless gray eyes and his sandy blonde hair, with that evil incarnated kind of smile he sent my way, felt like as if no matter where I went he would always follow me. How had we known them for months and never noticed such evil walked beside us for so long? They were not going to have me. I'll let the water, my enemy, become my mercy. I gave myself to it. I thanked it for saving me from dying by their hand. I saw the faint light of the moon fading as I went deeper into the water. My body becoming numb and peace penetrating my body with it. As my eyes slowly closed, any air in my lungs left them. When suddenly I felt an urge to regurgitate, and a pain in my chest with the intake of water. My arms flapping on their own, moving me through the water as never before. My wet face broke out into the surface. I coughed out as much water as I could, followed by intakes of small amounts of sweet air, before the water started pulling me in again with its angry waves. But my body was moving on its own, fighting to live, to resurface to the light that passed into the water, guiding me which way was up. My desperation grew, and I started yelling for help each time I was out. Deep down I knew it was no more than a whisper. For small moments the warm sun caressed my face, confusing me as to why there is sun. I tried until my body lost its strength, leaving me again with no more air, the water covering the sun I had just seen. In my mind I cursed the water 100 times over for allowing me hope, laughing in my face, killing me twice. As I closed my eyes once again there was a glimpse of a black figure swimming my way. Not this time, you won't trick me again. I know you're not just nature. I know you're alive and trick people. You may give life, but you take it away just like you decided to take mine today. As if the water could hear my last thoughts. I don't know for how long I was unconscious. When I came to, I was expelling the water from my lungs, struggling to get enough air in between coughs. My body was soaked, my palms touching grass instead of the dry dirt I had just run in. Remembering the last hours of my life, I was suddenly conscious of the strong arms holding me. I looked up in fright, my eyes widening in horror. They had me. No. But what I saw was the most piercing dark eyes, nearly pitch black, just inches above mine. In seconds I was on my feet, running. I didn't know who he was. He excluded danger, so intoxicating I wondered if I went to hell after drowning. The terror this man imposed on me was so much more than Mike's. My body has been on autopilot for so long it was as if I was an outsider watching it all on a screen. As if my mind did not have enough time to process at the speed my body reacted. Even the confusion that this was not the woods I was in before jumping into the water, this was more of a jungle, didn't stop me from moving forward. The winter coldness no longer in the air. Instead I breathed in a musty flowering smell. Stop her, he called out loudly. I didn't had to turn back to know the rich deep voice came from that man. Many footsteps sounded behind me. Was this running for my life ever going to end? I ran with all my might, but I could feel myself slowing down. I was exhausted and disoriented with no idea of where I was and where I was going. I had made a run for the jungle. I don't know if I was running from that man or from the water. Finally hitting my limit, my legs gave in, and my unwilling body launched to the floor. My arms half propping me up, not wanting to give up. I raised my head to look at my surroundings, looking for anything that would help me defend myself. I was overwhelmed by the scenery. The trees were endlessly tall, maybe 10 feet wide, vibrant green that nearly glowed. Flowers, purples and red, adorned some of the trees. This place were so vibrant in different colors it was as if taken out of a science fiction movie. I moved my head around. Stopping right in front of me, I spotted a snake, blue with gold stripes, but it had a crocodile-like head. Behind it a humongous dragonfly, at least to me it resembled one. In color it was green and brown, but I suppose it was more of a scorpion with wings. This was no 3-inch insect, it was more of a horse-sized thing. I was so mesmerized by the dragonfly, I did not see the snake-looking one head jump at me. I felt the swift breeze past my face, and a swoop whisked past my ear, followed by a crunchy sound as an arrow pierced the head of it, pulling it back to the ground. In slow motion the snake tail that had a stinger on its end passed no more than a centimeter away from my eyes before following the head to the ground, where it lay dead. The buzzing that followed like a herd of bees made me look up to the dragonfly animal taking flight and moving my way. The animal tail lifting like a scorpion. The view was covered by a tall figure. It was that man. I could see his peripheral clearly as he glanced back at me. A strong jaw adorned with full, meaty, and juicy lips, he commanded, "Take her back to camp. Derek and Austin, you stay." He had full eyebrows that added to the darkness of his eyes that seemed to anger when I was lifted off the ground by a blonde-hair man. The blonde hair exactly like Mike's, that made me struggle, until the man lost his grip on me, and with a thud I landed on the floor. But that's as far as I got, no more magical energy moving me forward. I tried to yell, "Don't touch me." But when I opened my mouth, nothing came out. "Do you want to die?" The blonde's voice was light. I looked up at him, and he looked nothing like Mike. His blue eyes were soft. He picked me up again. This time I did not struggle. Over his shoulders, the two swords in that man's hands got my attention as he stood tall in a relaxed manner. The blonde had taken a few steps when I tapped on his shoulder and pointed at the men we were leaving behind, worried. "When you have just ran like hell from him." I could see the slightest smirk on his thin lips as he continued. I gotta say, this is the first time we have seen our prince chase a woman. Usually they are the ones chasing him. A chuckle next to him sounded. That's when I saw another blonde beside him with his same resemblance. His brother, I guessed. We almost lost him today. We should not have left them. The brother then added in a serious voice, do you want to be the one to disobey orders? As he walked more in the distance, I could hear the sound of fighting fading away, and the water waves crashing getting stronger. I don't want to die, was a small whisper in my head. I was beyond exhausted and everything slowly faded away. The sound of men chatting, some singing, others laughing, woke me up. I did not open my eyes, afraid it would alert them I was awake. I just listened, my ears focusing on the deep voice of a man. The water creatures should have killed her if she is not one of them. I do not know. A raspy voice answered, you could have died. We cannot afford to lose you, my lord. Another voice sounded, she could have been a creature from the water luring you in. She sounded so desperate, I couldn't ignore her. The deep voice of the man, the blonde, called Prince. She is the only new thing we have seen in days. We need to find a way out of this. Maybe she is it. I still think that's odd. We were so far away, and you were the only one that heard her. Master Sage said she is not Nagel. Her blood is red like the people in the legends. The soft voice said again. She is awake, he told them. I could feel all eyes on me as everything went pin-drop silence. Do not try to run, he warned in a low voice, now sounding a lot closer to me. I opened my eyes as I sat up with an aching body and restraints on my hands and feet. It was dark all around except the light coming from the fire to my right, the only sound around, the crackling fire. He crouched in front of me. Who are you? This prince undeniably had a domineering essence to him. Even so, I did not answer him. I had questions of my own. Why am I tied up? What are you going to do with me? Where am I? I wondered but dared not ask. I looked around to see if Mike and Devin were with them, but they were not in the crowd of men gathered around the fire. This were grown strong men, not university students. They gave me the vibe of the men in the Spartans army of the movie 300. Most big and strong looking, the biggest one of them the prince. He was much younger than his men, it showed in his face. Looking into his eyes, still felt in danger, but I no longer had the urge to run without thinking. Next to him the blonde that carried me, and his brother. They were on the leaner side and built, but still seemed just as strong as the rest, and remembering how he effortlessly carried me, he definitely was. Out of place was an older man that even sitting down looked smaller than even me. Looking into his eyes was like looking into a grandfather with that wise old look. Something told me to be cautious with him. Heck, they are strangers and had me tied up. I must be cautious of them all.